Guys, so today we're going to talk about the volume of prisms and cylinders. Okay, you have the rectangular prism or cubes is the easiest one, which is the volume formula is length times width times height. It's not going to tell you that on a formula chart. What it's actually going to say is the volume equals the capital B times H, which is your length and width. So therefore, in this instance, for this figure, this is your base because it's the length times width. Because to find your capital B, you find that's the area of base figure. Because you find the area of the base times the height of the three-dimensional figure. Well, for a rectangular prism, this is what constitutes the base. You find the area of the base shape, which is length times width. Okay, so let's work number one. It doesn't have a shaded region, so we can pick whichever side we want to be the base. We have capital B times H, the capital B, remember is found as length times width. I'm trying to do the steps that might be similar for when we do triangles, okay? So you can do this separately, like this, to where you would do 9 times 21, because I'm going to make this bottom be my base. It doesn't have to be. I could do the 9 times 7. It doesn't matter. So in this instance, I am making the 7 be the height of the prism. So therefore, it's the distance between the two bases. So we have that the capital B equals 9 times 21, which is 189. And then I would plug that in. So I would have 189 times 7. There's a reason why I skipped it, left some space, times 7. So that gives me my volume is 1323 feet cubed. Now you might be asking, why is it cubed? Well, it's because in actuality, what I'm doing here is I'm doing 9 times 21 times 7. I'm multiplying feet times feet times feet. So I'm multiplying 3 sets of feet, which is feet cubed. There's my volume. You can either do where you find it B separately and then plug it in, or you can just do the length times width times height for a rectangular prism. Now, when it comes to a triangular prism, you kind of have to do it separately. Or you can just plug it in and have it all as one formula, but that's a lot of information in one situation. Here we go. Let's look at number 5. Okay, this is all other prisms. Any other prism, it's the capital B, which we talked about. That's the area of the base, and the height, which is the between the two bases. Okay, so when I'm looking at this number 5, the first thing I've got to notice is, what are the two parallel sides? What are my bases? It's the triangles. So I'm going to have, my formula is capital, we always write the formula, V equals capital B times H. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find what the capital B is. Well, it's a triangle. My base shape is a triangle. So that's 0.5 base times height. Now, where you're like base times height again. Wait a minute, I've got two heights. You have the height of the prism and you have the height of the triangle. Okay. This is the height of the prism. This is the height of the triangle. They're two different things, okay? Because this is the distance between the two bases. Okay, now you mean, okay, so that's the height of the triangle. What's the base of the triangle? Well, remember, it makes the right angle between the height and the base. So therefore, if this is 12, then this is going to be 12. So I'm going to have 0.5 times 8.6 times 12. Now, because this is all multiplication, I can easily do 0.5 times 12, which is going to give me 6 times 8.6, because all multiplication, I can rearrange the order that I write things in. And remember, I know that the calculator can do multiple steps. Your brain cannot. You have to write it before you type it. Every step has to be written. I very much know you can punch this straight into the calculator and get an answer. If that's all you do, I will take points off. You have to show every individual step. The calculator is there to do calculations for you, not to complete the entire problem, because you will not always have a calculator. So we have 8.6 times 6. So therefore, the capital B is 51.6. That's the area of the base. Now I bring that up here. And I now plug in that information because I know what the B is, that capital B is, and I know what my height of the prism is. So I'm going to have 51.6 times 9, which tells me that my volume is 464.4 millimeters cubed. There's my final answer. Okay, let's work a couple of more. We're going to flip over and we're going to look at a different prism. Oh, what I noticed first off, what's the base shape? Shape on this one is a trapezoid. Okay, my same formula, capital B times H. So when I'm going through here, what I've got to remember is the trapezoid formula is, I like to use 0.5 versus 1/2. You can use whichever representation you would prefer. 0.5 height is I times B1 plus B2, close parentheses. So I need base 1, base 2, and the height of the trapezoid. And then I also need the height of the prism. Okay, well, this distance here, this is the height of the prism because it is the distance between the two trapezoids. Now I'm going to look at the trapezoid itself. Okay, so I've got base 1. So this is equal to B1. This is equal to B2. And this is the height of the trapezoid. Notice I'm label everything on my figure. So therefore, I can now take that information. I don't have to remember. I just take it and plug it into my formula. Okay, so we have 0.5 times 22, open parentheses, 19 plus 34, close parentheses. Now I can do this and this at the same time. I know half of 22 is 11. I'm going to double check my calculations with 19 plus 34, and that gives me 53. So I now know that the capital B is 53 times 11. Which is 583. Now that I know the capital B, I'm going to plug it in up here. So I'm going to have 583 times the height of the prism, which is 8, which gives me that my volume is 4664 meters cubed. There we go. We're done. Now we're going to talk about cylinders, which pretty much is the same thing. It's just, what's my base shape? A circle. So I'm doing the same formula. Okay, because, well, you see something different here, but wait a minute. How do I find the area of a circle? The area of a circle is pi r squared. Oh, hey, that happens to be this portion of the formula. So it is still the same formula, capital B times H. You just have to remember that R stands for the radius and H stands for the height. All right, so here we go. So we're still doing the same thing, capital B times H. It just happens to be that my base shape here is a circle. So therefore my formula is pi r squared. My radius is 10. The height of my cylinder is 4. So I have pi times 10 squared, which is going to give me 100 pi, which is 100 times 3.14, which is 314. This is what my B equals. Okay, now I plug it into my volume formula. So I have 314 times 4, which gives me that my volume is 1,256 millimeters cubed. Okay, let's look at a word problem now. Number 15. It wants us to find the height. Notice I'm circling what I'm looking for, and I will underline important information. You need to start doing this habit when we come to word problems because things are getting more difficult. So we have to find the height of a cylinder with a radius of 4 inches and a volume of 301.6. Okay, so I've got volume information and I've got radius. Okay, so for volume, we know that the formula is capital B times H, but that also means that the capital B stands for pi r squared. So I can plug in pi r squared for H. I'm sorry, for the capital B. Because this is the same as the capital B. So now I'm going to plug in my numbers that I have. I know that the V, excuse me, is 301.6 equals. I know that I can plug in 3.14 for pi. Well, actually, I'm going to wait and plug that in at the end. Yes, I'm plugging that in at the very end. Always plug in the pi at the end. So we leave the pi symbol. I know the radius, so I'm going to plug in the 4 squared, and then I have the h. All right, now we simplify. I can do this, so I have 301.6 equals 16 pi times h. Well, my goal is to solve for h. That means I need to move this right here. Well, how is it connected? It's multiplied. All of that is multiplied together. So I'm going to divide by 16 pi on both sides. When I do that, that means that I'm going to have 301.6 over 16 times 3.14 equals h. Okay, well, according to order of operations, I need to do this first. So I'm going to do 16 times 3.14, which gives me 301.6 over 50.24 equals h. Now I've got to do this division. 0.6 divided by 50.24, because you write it before you type it. And we end up with this nice long little decimal here. Since we're dealing with pi, okay, we're going to say, unless it gives you specific directions, we're going to look at look at third, no, look at a fourth decimal and round to hundredths. I'm just going to go with that because that's what I did before the new SAT rules came down. So that means when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the fourth decimal, which was a 1. So therefore, this is the height equals 6.003. Now, I understand we have the pi button and we have 3.14. So I understand that when it comes test time, I will be looking for those types of discrepancies and making sure that that's only the differences that's happening. We cannot forget units. So there is my height. Remember, volume is the area of the base shape times the height of the prism for prisms and cylinders. Y'all have a great day. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.